witch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching another episode of Every Which Way. This time featuring one of my, and probably one of your, favorite YouTube superstars, Anni of Mirth and Reverence. And Anni, Ahneke Greystone, as she is known on Facebook and otherwise, but most of us know her and love her as Anni. She is kind of a rock. She is filled with wisdom and a person that a lot of us turn to for leadership and guidance. And that's something that is unusual in especially the pagan community on YouTube. And she's just kind of been, I don't think by her own design, but elevated to this kind of leadership position, although she wields her power as a kick-ass witch and a crone with absolute grace and mirth and reverence. She is never condescending, always kind, always open to learning something new, and forever young at heart. So I was really excited to get to have this conversation, and I just know that you're going to enjoy it. So get yourself a cup of tea, pull up a chair, and enjoy. Hi Anni, welcome to Every Which Way.
I can't believe I'm here with you. This is so exciting.
I know. I've known you for a couple years now through YouTube, but I've never gotten to talk to you face to face, so this is really fun.
And I had to download Skype and learn how to use it just for you.
Well, now you're a fully, technologically advanced witch.
Old witch learning new tricks.
Yeah, you seem to do that a lot. I think it keeps you young.
It does, and I have so many young friends, especially online, that it's an important part of, I think, how I stay young.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that later, but since we're talking about it now, do you mind telling us what age range you're in? I feel like you're in your mid-50s.
Range?
Well, I don't want to be specific, because some people are sensitive, but I feel like you're in your mid-50s, and I know you refer to yourself as a crone.
Actually, I turned 60 a month ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I
remember seeing that.
61st year.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I'm sorry, I remember. Happy birthday. That's a big year.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, did you guys do anything exciting for that?
Must not be very momentous because now I can't remember what we did. I assume it had to do with food. There was probably a celebration going out, to a restaurant, but we actually don't live near family, and we've moved away recently from our old house. So it's new friends. So we celebrated with new friends in our new neighborhood, and it was actually very quiet. In our new neighborhood, I am one of the younger people.
Oh, okay.
So it was strange because while I was anticipating feeling older, they're like, "Oh, you're just 60."
Yeah, you're the spring chick.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your age because YouTube has such a young, what is the word? I don't know if demographic is the word, but there's a lot of teenagers and 20-somethings that are involved in the pagan community, specifically on YouTube, as well as, older people like myself. And, and you get along with everybody. Everybody loves you, and as far as I know, and you're so young in spirit and so open to everybody and embracing of everybody. How did that feel when you first got involved in the community that we all just were like, oh, there's our crone, there's our leader? Did you get that feeling?
The only problem probably was being perceived as one of the older ones, because every circle I've had the blessing of being part of in my life had all ages. We were raising children, we were raising grandbabies, we were raising great-grandbabies. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a perception of myself as having value because of my age. It was more about the value came from being with people of all ages. So actually it was unusual when I first came on YouTube. I realized I was the grandmother age of most of my viewers. Mm-hmm. But I don't perceive myself in community as set aside because of age, because I've had the blessing of all my communities were multi-generational.
I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. And you never ever are condescending, even though you have so much wisdom and so many of us, we kind of put you on a pedestal, you know, like we seem to turn to you.
That's what you do when you're on a pedestal. You fall off of it.
I know people don't like that, but, and you probably especially, but we kind of do. We kind of look to you. I like to joke that, I don't have a church. I attend the Church of YouTube. And if we have the Church of YouTube, you're kind of like one of our main clergy members.
Well, I'm the sum, though, of the experiences. I really would have to say, and encourage us all to look at life this way, I have learned as much from young friends, peers in age, and the elderly, the older, as I have, you know, the young people have not brought less to me in my life, because I've been lucky enough to meet people who have different experiences and different lives from mine. So when somebody has a different perspective, you learn from them. Well, that can happen if somebody's 19 or somebody is 80.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of our community. And again, I will stop kissing your butt, but it's the beauty of Annie is you've always taken that attitude.
Brings me to. It's what it brings to me too. It's the blessing that I receive from the fact that we are such a variety amongst our community. We're not one person. We're not clones of each other around here.
Yeah, and I always make the statement, not to make a statement, but to not confuse people that I am not a Wiccan, especially now that I have my website and people will find me, and that's like one of the first questions they have. And sometimes I'm intimidated by traditional Wiccans. Like, I'm worried that they're going to think that my whole kooky, new agey version of being a witch is just not cool.
But you?
But you've never been like that. And even though I'm not a Wiccan, and you are a Wiccan, and a lot of your teachings are Wiccan, I always get something out of them. And I think there's something there for just about anybody, as long as they have an open heart and an open mind. It's very relatable.
And I think what we have in common, you and I, is a strong belief in the transpersonal experience. Mm-hmm. The ability to, by hearing another story, the story of others, by sharing our story, of having that one step outside of our ego, ourself, and having experience. It's something at the communal or the collective level, but it has nothing to do with what we may say we are in the way of a religion or a not religion, but it has something to do with the transpersonal experience. And no matter what our path is, if we have the courage to live outside of ourselves, we're going to realize how much we have in common with each other rather than the things that are different. I get a lot on YouTube. I really like you, even though you're Wiccan, or in spite of the fact that you are Wiccan. And I like that because I don't mind being identified with something that is so important to me.
Yes.
And sometimes people then have the opportunity to learn something about it, which they may find more comfortable than they may have previously. But it allows us to start that story where we tell each other things that take us outside the personal into that beautiful transpersonal area.
Well, a lot of my audience is not Wiccan, and I'm assuming a lot of them don't even really know very much about it. Could you, in a nutshell, tell us what Wicca is all about?
Well, for my definition of it is that it is a specific religion with specific tenets and beliefs. At the most simplistic level, earth-based, and centered on the concept that we attempt to put a face to mystery. We believe in the sentience of the universe, and in order to try and relate to it, to become one with it, we give it a face. In my case, I honor both goddess and God, but I am actually very monotheistic. I see deity as something that is separate and sentient and surrounding us and part of us and a wholeness. But I give it two faces because I understand those faces. I can look them in the eye, just like I'm looking right into my screen and seeing you. I'm looking into the face of something that is greater than me. A little way of touching on the mystery. Now, over the years, my beliefs of what Wicca is, my beliefs of spirituality, what God is, what God present in the world is, it's changed. It changes constantly. One of the freedoms of this particular religious expression called Wicca is you don't have to have a belief in what it is. It's an experiential religion, where your life experiences inform understanding what mystery or God or whatever the greater thing is.
That's beautiful.
So I don't give it a real literal, this is what a Wiccan is, because other than earth-centered, goddess-centered, believing in the power of archetype, the power of the seasons, the land we live in, that by learning to be connected to something other than ourselves or in addition to ourselves, we are in fact connecting to as close as we can come to understand what the divine is.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You have a way of putting things that just makes so much sense to me, whereas I have quite a collection of Wiccan books, and I do have my favorites, but sometimes, you know, I kind of, every once in a while, will flirt with the idea, like, well, you know, especially after I've been watching some Mirth and Reverence videos, maybe I am a Wiccan, and I just don't know it, you know, and then I'll go digging around in my books and stuff, and inevitably I'll run into a few rules that make me go, yeah, no, it's not for me. But the way you put it, I like the way you say it's about putting a face on the divine as opposed to, I don't know, for me that resonates with my idea of anthropomorphized gods and goddesses as a way of relating
Absolutely.
to the divine.
It is knowing you're putting a face on it.
Yes.
For some of us who are Wiccan, it is only the face. It is something we see in the way of archetype and symbol. For other Wiccans, it is the face that is our key to looking into the eyes of God and understanding that we can't get there completely because mystery is so huge and so beautiful and so powerful, we can touch on it. But whether we're looking at it as something that's anthropomorphized or a symbol or an archetype, or whether we're looking on it as indeed looking into the eyes of God, don't we get to the same place or a very similar place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, how long have you been a Wiccan? When did this first begin for you?
I was very lucky. I found my first goddess circle not long after I was out of high school. I was still a teenager. And found my way into a goddess circle. It was not a religious specific goddess circle. You're talking the late 60s. So it was the I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar movement.
Oh, neat.
Yes, it was definitely feminism and environmentalism that pulled me into this other world to explore. I was excited to get to explore that goddess spirituality could be contemporary. I certainly knew it from studying mythology and other world religions. But in my late teens, I actually met my first group of women who were honoring woman as divine. And it was very empowering to me. But it wasn't what I needed. It actually was my step into meeting my first Wiccans. And what was the balance there was the fact that male and female both, what they represented, what their powers were, what their strengths were. In the world we interact in a sense of duality with males and females, and I found that I needed a spirituality that did that too. And about the time I was thinking this goddess-only thing felt as strange as the God-only thing did of my childhood, I met my first Wiccans. I live on the East Coast and did then too, and not too far from New York City, so Wicca was arriving at that point and had been here for about 10 years. There weren't many of us then, and we were kind of disconnected. It was hard to meet each other, to find each other, but I lucked out by total accident that I met my first Wiccan, studied with that Coven for a year, a little bit more, and stayed with them for a decade. So the first experience I had of Wicca was in a very structured environment, actually being told this is what you do and this is what you believe. And I was okay with that because it actually complemented what I was doing and believing. But as I was growing and maturing, getting near 30, the structure of this is what you will do and this is what you will believe, I didn't think that was ever what it was intended to be. I don't think any religion is frozen in time. It evolves. And my experience of Wicca then for the next, how many decades is that? 30 decades? Has been a bit more free form. There's been several circles. I've led almost all the circles I've been in because that's the personality I have.
Yes, it is.
It's all been different. It's been combinations of men and women, just women, very free form, very structured. And all of that combined has felt more right to me, more who I am. Just seems we grow and we evolve, and anytime we put ourselves a box where someone tells us or we tell someone else, this is what you do, this is what you believe, nothing good is going to come of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I still call myself a Wiccan because the very basic tenets of the belief from those early years, my adoration of goddess and God, and my using the season, the wheel of the year, as you well know, to influence my spiritual practices, it's all still there. It's the core of me, but something else has grown around it. I think it's just nothing more than maturity.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I told you in an email that I have a Wheel of the Year program that's very much about psychology and how that can inform your spirituality, and then back and forth, they can inform each other. But you were the first person that planted that idea in my head, because I was really into the Wheel of the Year, and you had these really fabulous videos in which you would talk about the turning of the wheel and the different seasons, but you would also work in there about the psychological parallels and how we were shifting inside along with the seasons. And I found that very stimulating and exciting, and I went looking for more, and there wasn't enough to satisfy me, so I kept digging and digging. But
so you're making your own now.
yeah, and then I find out you're doing, I think yours is more encompassing of something bigger than the Wheel of the Year. You're doing a year and a day program. Is it strictly the Wheel of the Year, or is it more than that?
It is, I wouldn't say specifically Wheel of the Year. It'll talk about lunar and solar celebrations, the seasons of our lives, the seasons of the year. It's more, what I found lacking in pagan books and websites was, if someone was on a personal course of study, developing their personal spirituality, their personal practice, they'd open a book, it would give them everything one could possibly do. Everything you honor, everything you do, possible deities. The whole story was right there in front of you. That's not the way I learned. The first year I spent with that first Coven, which was the most invaluable spiritual time in my life, was about developing a personal practice, deciding what you believed in, what you related to, why you were even on the journey. We actually kind of sat one step back in circle. We watched what was being done. We were part of all the rituals, and our energy was there and involved in that sense. But no one explained to us what they were doing and why, because we were supposed to be determining on our own what was important to us. And what I found was lacking in these online resources and books was, it almost seems like there's a given when you start reading these books that they think you've already arrived at this place, and all you're really looking for is a practice to fulfill it.
Yes.
Well, none of us have arrived at a place. We're always continually arriving, and it seemed to me the greatest guidance most of the people who are looking for guidance are coming from another spiritual background, a form of religion of their family. They're coming with a lot already, and it doesn't always blend in with what they're reading in these books. The biggest suggestion I got from the focus group that helped me put together the new Season of the Seeker, which is the name of the program,
love it,
is I'm always being told something by these books, but I'm never being told why. So the greater purpose behind something. Another way, a way for you to decide, does this matter to me? This thing they just said, does it matter to me? You're not going to pick up a book and everything in that book is going to apply to your personal practice. It's not, because your personal practice is unique. No one else is going to have one like it. So what I was trying to do is come up with something that was mimicking my first year of study, which was really building a personal practice and a relationship with what the divine is or is not. And that's what I wanted to start this book on. It's not Wiccan specific, although Wiccan topics will weave through it. I intend on going on in another session after this one with something that's more specifically Wiccan practices and why we do them. But this is really about exploring what connection and unity and wholeness, what feeling separated from and united with feels like, and why could that be a divine, a religious, a spiritual experience. Connecting to the land, to the earth. Elemental balancing is a great part of what this Season of the Seeker is going to be, because we seek as spiritual beings to connect to something other than us, larger than us, to become one with it. Well, that's just huge and overwhelming. But if you take a walk and you get lost staring at a tree, or you're at the ocean listening to the waves, you get some sense of, this is bigger than me. Yes. But I'm part of it. I'm part and parcel. At the same time, it's big. It's huge. So I'm mimicking, in a way, the energy of the first year of my studies, which wasn't to set up a set of practices and say, this is what you will do, and this is what you will believe. It was rather instead an exploration. So that at the point at which you dedicated, initiated to that circle, you knew where you were. You knew what your personal truths were, and you knew what you were taking forward into the circle. And then the circle wasn't the mystery anymore. You started understanding why the rituals, what was being done, the purpose of it. And you started really feeling one with it. But I think we jumped that step online and in books, even from what friends are telling me, even some online teaching opportunities. We jump that step and we try and plop ourselves down in the midst of something that doesn't have enough meaning for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that could very well explain my struggles with Wicca.
Yeah, no one can give us something as a fait accompli. Here it is.
Yes.
It'll work for you because it worked for somebody else.
Yes.
It's not the way it works.
And I have a couple questions about this season of The Seeker. One is, when does it start? So people, because I know it's a year and a day, so is it too late for people to sign up, or has it not?
It is not. I hope to make this continual. One of the things I decided was, the first thing is I wanted to make an opportunity where, I'll be honest, donations are welcome because of the time I'm putting over into this. What came of this was, in my retirement, I wanted to write. It was the first dream I had. I stopped working a year ago. Writing was my dream. I thought it was the number one priority I had. I hated it. It was boring. It was in a vacuum. There was no interaction. I personally gained nothing from the experience. So what I wanted to do was, I'm using the experience of being in community and this learning opportunity for me and anybody who's with me. The book is now happening. It's coming out of that. The interactive experience is going to make it happen. Because of that, I'm hoping to keep it free to anybody who cannot donate and modest to anybody who has the ability to donate. Mm-hmm. And what I plan on doing is sharing videos and the PDFs that go with them, because people like to read sometimes. They don't really want to be stuck watching a video. With all due honor to the video world that you and I are now talking in. And what I wanted to do was allow people to come to the sessions in groups. I'm doing 30 people in groups at a time. And there's a discussion group for just those 30 people where they can share exercises out of the sessions that I'm going to be uploading as a way to create community and discussion. And it's really in keeping with my philosophy that we learn together. What was missing in sitting down and writing a book to the unknown reader was I wasn't growing from that experience. And this experience already, from the people who've signed up and the discussions we're having, is I'm changing. I'm evolving. And I don't mind being selfish about that. It's my way forward, too.
Yeah.
So, yes, it has already started. There is a website that describes it, thegreystonepath.com. Mm-hmm. And in the Season of the Seeker tab there, you can see what it's all about. One thing I was very particular about doing is I have listed the entire curriculum. It's 2 sessions per week for the year. And I've listed the curriculum out so that people get to see. One of the focus group feedbacks was, we pay our money and go to some place for a course. We find out once we've paid what it is. It'll be for some people and it won't be for other people. And I'm trying to keep it as interactive as possible, appreciating that I can be present in a group well, but I'm also providing for those who would like a one-on-one, the same exact program involved with the other participants, but with they and I being able to be in more of exchange one-on-one with each other. Mm-hmm. That's there for those who can take advantage of that. But the truth is a lot of people might even want to but can't. And the power of the discussion group and learning from each other and hearing each other's stories is where I hope the power of this will come from. And I hope that's what informs the book that's coming out of this, that we did it together. We wrote this together. It's not one more talking Wiccan head.
Yeah.
It is a community sharing. This is one way we explore growing together.
Very exciting. I think you might be at the very beginning of a second career now. you just said you're retired, but this is pretty exciting. We all might just push you out like, more books, Annie, more.
Well, you know the time it takes from the effort you put into what you bring us, the thought you give it behind the scenes, the creating the bits and pieces, the structure of it, organizing it, putting it together. Not that that's not all fun, and we tend to learn a lot, don't you think, while we're doing it personally?
Yes.
But the work that goes behind it and the time that goes behind it, I had to stop and think, do I really want to start giving over those many hours in a day or a week? And I realized that, why not? I'm at the time in my life where I can take all the time I want to please me. I've always been in service to teaching, but it's always been in the sense of sitting down and exchanging and having a conversation and growing and learning. That after a while, you can't remember who's the student and who's the teacher.
Yeah.
Because you're both going there together.
Yeah.
And I think this is replicating what I need, and we'll tell if it's what other people need. But from my perspective, this is what I needed, rather than that sitting down with a laptop on a desk and just thinking, oh, I can write something now.
Yeah. This sounds just perfect for you and those of us that have loved you for so long. I'm kind of jumping around now mentally, but I wanted to ask you what the difference was between being in a coven and, you know, you have that experience for so many decades, and then participating online. I know you've joined quite a few collaboration channels, and you always just jump in like fully and you participate. With that spirit of mirth, you are mirth and reverence. And what's that like? What's the difference?
What it has in common with the communal way I've always celebrated spiritually, and that would be as a Wiccan in a coven. It would also be I'm a Unitarian Universalist, so I'm very involved in that church and with that fellowship. What it has in common with those experiences in my non-cyber life is the beauty of sharing, of being present to listen to what others share and bring to us and to learn and grow from them. And then knowing that what you've experienced and what you have to say matters too. It's that give and take. Online, I have been so lucky to be involved in so many healthy groups of people very honestly and purely being who they are. You know, there's no posing. There's no, I don't know who this person is. It's as genuine as if we were sitting in our living rooms talking to each other.
Yeah.
And the power of that online has been equally powerful to what I've experienced offline. I met my husband online. I know the power of sharing your pure self, that your emotional heart being online. I met the woman who matters the most to me, the most important person in my life from the sense of soulmate, my Ahneke. I met her online. I've always, from the first days I was online, and I was a little late getting there compared to a lot of people, I've always valued that anyone who's truly present in an online experience brings value and takes away value. It does give you that radar, though, and you know right away when someone's not.
Oh, yeah.
You learn that over time.
Yeah.
It's different than, say, the energy of my coven, where the physical, energetic beings that we are when we come together, something happens there that can't happen, cyber. I've never seen that quite recreated. There's a bond and a trust and what we come together that we then are something that's beyond that together. I haven't experienced that level of online power, but the one-on-one, the intimate connection, I found it to be as powerful online when the circumstances are right and the vulnerability is there than it is in any face-to-face relationship I have.
Yeah. I remember that being so surprising to me when I first joined YouTube. It didn't take me long to want to join after I started watching videos. And, you know, I would probably have thought somebody was nuts if they said that they met their best friend or their husband on the internet until YouTube. And granted, I hadn't been on Facebook at that point or anything like that, but it was just so personal. And you make these connections with people that feel so real, and you end up sending each other mail, like through the snail mail, and talking behind the scenes, and there's a lot of beauty there, and there's a lot of value.
I didn't expect to find it in the video world. I don't know why I didn't expect to find it in the video world, because for 20 years I've been finding it in, you know, e-lists and distribution lists and the other ways we got to know each other online. And because of my age, my experiences of online was back when we had lists where we had to copy each other's addresses and then paste them into every single email, because it was listservs. There weren't groups. So you worked at it. You had to work hard at it. And the power of that, I still was fascinated when I first went to video. I never thought I loved watching them, but I never thought I would have uploaded a video. I didn't even buy a laptop that had a camera in it because I didn't think I'd ever need a camera for any reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, ahead of time, I didn't think, why couldn't this be as genuine as the other cyber experiences have been? Yeah. But it became that way by comments I exchanged with people on YouTube before I ever uploaded a YouTube video. Mm-hmm. That connection of person to person. And when you look at my early YouTube videos, it's hysterical.
Oh, I can't look at mine.
I had to do the hair and the makeup, and I sat stiff, and I had the camera at the right angle because you might see my chins, or look up my nose. I mean, everything was so stiff, and I keep them up on purpose because I'm tempted to redo them because my personality does not come through. Yeah. And you can tell in the history of my videos is my body and my voice, the tone of my voice, whether I have emotion or not. You can tell when it started becoming real to me by the shift in who I was in that presence. Yeah. Go back to the first couple videos on my channel and laugh yourself silly. Truly.
I can't look at myself. I just, I think people think, oh, well, you've changed, but really it's not that. You just get more comfortable and you become more yourself. It becomes easier to reveal yourself as you get comfortable with talking into a camera and then, seeing yourself back.
I think there's a weird online wisdom, a YouTube wisdom, I would say, that someone made a comment to me not too long ago that one of the reasons I like you is you're just so open and honest and we know exactly who you are. Yeah. And my answer, though, was, no, you don't. There is still, and it's not protection, but there's still a sense of, I share to a certain point in this environment because we don't know who's looking at us and who's picking up on our energy and who's sending us energy, not in the big picture. And there's an interesting, I don't know if we share the best of ourselves so people don't see the other stuff. I don't know how balanced sometimes the way we make it is, but I find it very fascinating that I do feel that I'm genuinely present, but only some aspect of me is there. It's kind of a withholding of, and it could be I withhold the bad days and the grumpiness and the times when I'm judgmental and I want to say, oh no, it might be what I'm withholding is better off not out there anyway, even in my face-to-face life. Yeah. So it's kind of like a considered presentation of the best of ourselves.
That's a good way of putting it. I try not to invite my shadow onto the video. I don't really want that for all time, up on the internet looking back at me. Although I'm sure it sneaks out every now and again because, it has a way of just being surprise! And I'm going back and forth, but I have some things I wanted to ask you. I'm very curious about, you wrote under the 4 seasons, 4 titles, and each of them really appealed to me, but the Seeker, the Dedicant, the Sovereign, and the Hermit.
The Hermit's like my own little deal.
Yeah, I like the Hermit. I also like the Sovereign a lot. But how does that fit in with the seasons?
The seasons, if you can consider it the foundation or the building blocks of building a personal practice of relating to the seasons at the level of the psyche. Mm-hmm. And that at different times in our lives, we would relate in a different way because as our experiences become more inclusive, we change, therefore we relate to things differently. And there's also these 4 seasons are a way of learning 4 different ways of being present and learning new opportunities and embracing new things along the spiritual path. But I always refer to things like, Maiden, Mother, Crone, the 4 seasons of the year, the Dedicant, the Initiate, the Sovereign, the Hermit, whatever phases, it's 5 o'clock somewhere is how I think of this. At any given point, you're a crone. At any given point, I'm a maiden or a hermit, or it's fall in the middle of summer. It's not about a linear progression. It's about the way we experience along the way and then how we start weaving that in with every experience we already have. And they grow upon each other because one is the foundation block that leads to the other, but they're really not linear.
Right.
Just a way of presenting information, kind of a way of packaging it and presenting it in a logical way. Then we make illogical of it. It's just not logical when it comes to applying it to our lives, because we're never one thing. It's never things in the same order. The addition of the hermit at the end was the fact that as I was approaching my cronehood, people were telling me, oh, this is the time of your life you're completely in service to. You spend all your time now giving back. I'm like, you know what? I have as much right to be a recluse, to become cloistered, to go into deep meditation, to keep my practices personal. We have that opportunity, really, that right at any point in our spiritual path, to take that moment to step aside and become the hermit. Mm-hmm. But I saw a progression in a way, as a woman, when we think of maiden, mother, and crone, in a way, when you get to a certain age, you start becoming that maiden again.
Yeah.
That beauty of the self-centeredness in the right way, it is about me. It's about a personal experience. It's about not always having to be me in relation to you. Just being me is the virgin, the completeness of that is equally important sometimes. So I wanted to go beyond the concept of as we mature through our lives and get to the passing of the elderly, the wisdom elder aspect of being older. We can also choose to be the hermit.
Yeah. It has so much to do with what we started with, about being young at heart, too. At any age, you can be the seeker, you can be an initiate, you can be at the very beginning of something at any age.
Correct. And I believe, and I think you do too, because I'm sure this is one of the things we have in common. Mm-hmm. If we're not that way, we are not evolving as a spiritual being. We're going nowhere.
Yeah.
If at any point we think we got it.
Yep.
We actually have just by that statement said, don't have it.
Life always has a way of kicking me in the butt when I start having those thoughts, actually.
It's okay to have the moments we feel like we've got it, because that probably means we've grasped for a moment some part of mystery.
Yeah.
Some part of our personal truth. But when we hang on to that as this is it, then we've lost it.
Yep. Yeah. What you just had to say about how the seasons aren't necessarily linear, it reminds me so much of this book called The Seasons of Change, where she talks, it's a book about healing, actually, from whatever, a divorce, some kind of loss or pain, but she talks about how you can be in spring and then jump ahead to winter and then fall back to fall, and we move around the seasons in a non-linear way. But I do think it helps to have kind of a linear grasp on it, just to be able to understand the different phases and how we can move in and out of them.
And that's probably what you're bringing to those you're doing your psychosocial wheel of the year with.
Yeah.
In that if we don't, there's a simultaneous holding, which I consider to be a spiritual activity. It will be constantly mentioned in my season of The Seeker. Simultaneously holding two truths at the same time, which can appear contradictory. One of the truths we've just discussed is it's always any season we choose for it to be. Mm-hmm. Another truth we hold at the exact same time is following the wheel of the year, spiritually, from a psyche point of view, however we view it, requires us to revisit, whether we want to or not, some part of the learning cycle that makes us complete. So we simultaneously hold that it's about progression and learning what each season is in relation to its other and the building of one season on the other. And at the same time, the exact same time, the equal truth is it's not about that. It's about being able to connect to that anytime, any place, in any way we choose to. Linear and non-linear at the same time is a very powerful, to me, sacred simultaneous holding.
Love it. I would like to learn something new. What is that?
I was reading something for fun. It was just some goofy, probably historical romance, one of those guilty pleasure things where I was just reading for no reason. And I was new to my Kindle. I'd only just gotten one. And that word came up. And I love Kindle because then you can highlight the word and find out what it is. You didn't have to put down your book and go find a dictionary. It's like, what the heck is this word? And it just intrigued me because it was, well, I describe it on the About Myself page, yes, on my webpage. And it was about this collection of all the bits and pieces that add up. They don't have to make any sense. There doesn't have to be any reason to them. They're just glorious because it's an assemblage of things. And I thought, that's what I am. That's what we all are. And I loved it. I mean, you are as much as I am. And I wish I knew I was saying it right. I think it's Galumma-free.
I'm not going to try. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spell it across the screen. You wrote in reference to that too. You were talking about the different definitions and how one, the French definition, I think, it was kind of like a stew, like a jumble of all these different things. And you wrote, a stew from whatever one can get one's hands on. Nothing exotic, just what is within reach, simple and pure, mixed gleefully, but with enough seriousness of intent to give it spice. And that is exactly how I would describe you, or at least the you that I know from watching Mirth and Reverence.
We mix it together the best we can in life, and sometimes you go, Have you ever tried that new recipe and went, uh-oh?
Yes.
We just remix it. Sometimes you throw it out and don't even bother again, but most often you go, I could have done this or that. I could have mixed something a little bit differently. And it feels to me that that's what life is. As we go along, we keep remixing ourselves. It's like if we're the recipe, we keep fiddling with it. We keep tweaking it throughout life. And we can bring things together that don't even necessarily seem like they should be together.
Yeah.
But the end result is something that feels right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for talking to me today. Can I get you to answer one very important question before I let you go?
Uh-oh. Sure.
What is your best tip for creating the kick-ass life of your dreams?
Well, one tip, huh?
You can give us more than one, but your favorite.
I really do think I'm stuck in a mode right now because of a place I'm writing from at the moment. It's about the simultaneous holding of who am I and who am I in relation to everything else. That who am I in relationship to everything else takes us beyond ourself. It's the releasing of us and realizing we're almost forced into realizing we're complete in the way we understand how we are connected to the world, to others, to our concept of deity. Who are you, and who are you in relation to? And that in relation to, the answer that expands us and takes us beyond ourselves, and I think that's where kicking ass comes from.
Yes! Well, thank you so much, and I want to tell everybody that they can find you on YouTube under Mirth and Reverence, but let's tell them again where they can go sign up for your program if they want to. That's thegreystonepath.com, right?
Yes, you can read about there. The Season of the Seeker tab will give you the information on it to see if it's something that is of interest to you or not. And understand that we're working in small groups. You'll have a chance to get to know people, share your story, and listen to the stories of others. And if you're somebody who really likes to work by yourself, you're really not at this place where you want to be, I don't want to be a part of a discussion group, you can follow it by yourself just as well. It has to be something that everybody feels comfortable with.
Perfect. I love it. I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you too, baby. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk and that we get to share us with the world. I can't believe I'm going to see myself out there like I've seen all these wonderful people you've talked to.
Yay. Yay. Much love to you, Annie.
Okay,
Peace.
baby. Great blessings.